And welcome back, everyone. Now, since 2002, students at Michigan Tech have been using a custom-built research vessel to study Lake Superior. The RV Agassiz helps students access islands and open waters, and this summer, there's a chance for local grade school students to use the boat as a classroom, too. TV6's Andrew Lacombe is on board this morning and joins us from Houghton with more. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning, Vicki. That's right. We're in the campus of Michigan Tech University in Houghton, next to the Great Lakes Research Center, where this vessel is parked behind me. You can see the research vessel here, and we're going to be jumping on board, learning more about it from the captain, learning about how students use it at Michigan Tech throughout the year to study lake sediment and fish population. Also, we'll be learning about a program called Ride the Waves. It's a youth program for students in grades 4 through 12 that's taking place throughout the summer, and you can get more information about that throughout the morning here. A chance for kids to get on board here and continue their learning throughout the summer with some great Michigan Tech students and faculty. So we'll be learning about that throughout their morning here on TV6. So we're going to head back to the studio now, though, live in Houghton. Andrew Lacombe, TV6 News. All
right, thank you very much, Andrew. It must be a pretty nice day. He does not have a jacket on, so that's a good sign. And as Sean Householder joins back, students at Michigan Tech have a unique way to access and study Lake Superior. This vessel is in use throughout the year by the school. There's no break in the summer months either, as local grade school students have a chance to use the floating classroom too. TV6's Andrew Lacombe has more this morning from Houghton. Andrew?
Good morning again, Vicki. Now I'm on board the research vessel Agassiz that's docked outside the Great Lakes Research Center here at Michigan Tech University. And like you said, local students had the chance to use the boat during the summer through a program called Ride the Waves. We're learning more about that this morning. And the boat joining me now is the boat's captain, Captain Steve Robley. So thanks for joining me this morning. And just tell me what this boat is used for.
Well, in general, this boat's used for 3 different types of activities. And one activity, and the primary activity perhaps, is all the research. It supports all the research activities of the scientists studying all the activities in the Great Lakes. And we have all the equipment that supports their work, and it all works off this work platform in the back part of the boat here. And the second thing, this boat has a function as public education, and Ride the Waves is one part of the public education activities on the research vessel. Another example of that would be the Chassell Strawberry Festival. That was last Saturday. We took, I think, about 170 people out from the Strawberry Festival dock there and showed them science activities that happen on the boat and on the lake. And the third function is this is actually a laboratory facility for about 6 or 7 courses every fall semester. The tech students have courses where they study the lake. And sometimes, instead of actually being in a laboratory up in the building, this boat is the actual lab facility. So we have all the equipment on the lake, and we show them how the equipment's used to study the science of the Great Lakes.
So speaking of equipment, you have one piece you're going to show us this morning that's been used for a long time, right?
This is the Secchi disc, and this has been used for probably 100 years. And it's a little $25 piece of equipment here, and it seems kind of silly to use a little piece of equipment like this on a boat that is worth $400,000. But the reason we use this is it's very accurate. It's used to measure the clarity of water. So we drop this down in the water on the string. We measure the depth where we can still see this disc as it goes down in the water. And by measuring the distance to where this disc is when it disappears in the water, we can actually use that to measure the clarity of the water. But the reason we're still using this is for hundreds of years they've been using this piece of equipment to measure the same measurement, and we have all this data that we can compare back to for 100 years, so that's why we still use this piece.
Okay, now equipment like this is being used by kids this summer through the Michigan Tech, and tell us more about the Ride the Waves program.
Well, Ride the Waves is funded by General Motors and is supported by the Great Lakes Research Center here, and before the end of the summer we're going to have about 500 students here in grades 4 through 12. And they're going to be doing one of 4 different studies. And one of the studies is the aquatic food web. And that has to do with all the phytoplankton, zooplankton, and all the organisms that come up through the food web to the top of the food chain, where they'd be something like lake trout. So it starts very small little organisms in the bottom of the lake or living in the lake and supports that whole food chain. Another one is in about 1960 something, and how that affected that particular lake and how we are remediating that lake now. And the third one is interesting. It's remotely operated vehicles, and we have the Great Lakes Research Center has these devices called ROVs, remotely operated vehicles. And these are like little submarines that we control from here on the boat, and we send them down to the bottom of the lake or different parts of the water levels. And we can actually see with cameras on these devices what's happening in the bottom of the lake or something interesting down there, organisms or shipwrecks or whatever we need to see there, the bottom, the structure of the bottom of the lake. And so a fourth one is called the Ring of Fire. And the Ring of Fire is a ring around the edge of Lake Superior of a similar depth. It's kind of a shallow depth where there's a whole lot of biological activity. It's part of this food chain we talked about. And in that particular ring or depth, it goes all the way around the lake, there's a concentration of a whole lot of species that support that food chain, so there's a whole lot of biological activity in that particular ring called the Ring of Fire.
Okay. Steve, thanks so much for telling us all about these programs. That sound like a lot of fun. I want to go out and check out all of them. If you want to know more about when these are exactly offered, you can go to mtu.edu and search Ride the Waves, or you can call 487-3341. We'll be back with more from the research vessel Agassiz coming up later on this morning. For now, back to the studio. Live in Houghton, Andrew Lacombe, TV6 News.
All right, thank you very much, Andrew. And welcome back. Since 2002, students at Michigan Tech have been using a custom-built research vessel to study Lake Superior. The RV Agassiz helps students access islands and the open water, and this year, a chance for local grade school students to use the boat as a classroom also. Andrew Lacombe is aboard vessel this morning and joining us from Houghton with more. Andrew?
Good morning again, Vicki. That's right. We are on the Agassiz this morning. That's being used throughout the summer for a program called Ride the Waves. And we learned more about that earlier. And we're also checking out the equipment that's on the boat. And joining us again is Captain Steve Robley. And Steve, of equipment that are here that students and researchers and the kids in grades 4th through 12th grade are going to be using.
Well, we do use these pieces of equipment, and we have lots of equipment, but these are some very basic pieces of equipment. This one here is called the Poner Dredge, and we use this to get samples, sediment samples from the bottoms of the lake in any depth you want by setting it down on a cable in the bottom of the lake. And the way we do that is we put this on a cable, and we set a trigger here, and when it goes down on the cable, it hits the bottom of the lake like this, it closes that dredge and gets a sample of sediment. We bring that sediment sample up. We look through there to see what kind of a species will live in that sediment, and that tells us about what's happening in that part of the lake. This piece of equipment is called a Niskin bottle, and this Niskin bottle is used to collect a water sample. And we can send this down on a cable to 600 feet deep. And you can see there's little caps on the bottom top of this thing. We send that trigger down, it closes this bottle, and then traps the water inside the bottle so no other water gets in. And we bring this back up to the surface, and we can take that water sample from that depth and see what's happening in the water column at that particular depth. So these are two of the pieces of equipment we might be using.
Okay. And now the Ride the Waves program is happening all summer. It's free for students, and coming up this week you have one that's focusing on the food chain.
Right. It's the aquatic species, and we look at what's in the water column from the top to the bottom and how that fits into the food chain. And, of course, the food chain starts with phytoplankton, zooplankton, the little tiny animals that live in the bottom of the lake or in the water column, tiny things, and that bigger animals eat the smaller animals, and bigger animals eat the smaller animals, and it goes all the way up to the top of the food chain, like, for example, a walleye or a lake trout. And this particular one is the study of that whole food chain.
Okay. Thank you so much for letting us on board your boat this morning and telling us more about how it's being used throughout the summer. So I hope you enjoy the time with the kids throughout the next few weeks here. So
you all have a good time.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And if you want to learn more about the Ride the Waves program, you can go to mtu.edu or you can call 487-3341. That's the number to call to get more information about the programs that happen throughout the summer on specific days. You can learn more about that. And now we'll head back to the studio live in Houghton this morning. Andrew Lacombe, TV6 News.
All right, thank you very much, Andrew. And your TV6 Morning Show will be right back.